So while I was watching season 10 here, I wasn't totally thrilled by it, even though I could tell that the people, again, were trying. But I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like that they're really struggling at this point because last season I got the idea that they were struggling with Fiona by having her hit rock bottom, and then Kevin and Veronica because they were clearly running out of things that they could come up with. And this season it again felt that way with them, but it also kind of felt that way with Lip and Ian, although Ian, that's because they're completing his story arc, whereas for Lip, I don't know, just, he's been in nearly the same place for a while now, except of course now he's got a family to take care of. But while I was watching this, I just wasn't feeling it. But once it finished, I'm like, okay, yeah, you guys really did put out a good product there. It does get a little tiring watching the same show with the same people over and over, and yet it's interesting what they're able to come up with. But all said and done, looking back on it, I think I'm going to like it better on a re-watch. I'd hope that's the case. So diving into everyone, well, discussing Lip right off the bat, it is nice seeing him trying to take up some responsibility, although what Tammy said towards the end where she's accusing him of loving everyone in his family more than her, it's tough because, he's known them his whole life. He's known her a year. His heart is 100% set on helping her and Fred, but you gotta remember, he's a grease monkey working at a bike repair shop. Now, is that a bad thing? No. It just means that it's likely to be upstaged, and I mean, like my job, Currently, the grocery store that I'm employed at is trying to merge with another one. Now, fortunately, I happen to be part of the quote-unquote bigger company, but that doesn't guarantee that I'm going to be okay, It could end up bad for me. We'll see. Just, he's got a lot that he's going to always have to do. Now, is that true for any parent? Absolutely it is. Or anyone that has, pets that regularly need attending to. My parents, we've got 2 dogs. They need a lot of attention. Now, my dad, he's completely in on that. Me, it's tough, unfortunately. I don't think I've totally broken past that barrier yet. Maybe I never will. We'll see. Yeah, but I do admire what he went through, even though he really did seem to choose his family over Tammy, even though does he make a great argument of, yes, we've got a house that doesn't need any work on in Milwaukee, but we know nobody there. We'd have to start over. That was what my parents went through when they moved here, because I didn't really know anyone back in our prior house, but they didn't know anyone here except a not real cousin that we've got in this state, and that's literally how we describe him. So, right. So yeah, that takes care of Lip. Ian, I'll just jump to him because he's easy. It was nice to see this romance arc finally come to basically the end, because Mickey was pretty much the only recurring love interest with on-off, on-off. All of his other love interests, he does them for a bit, and then they just fade away. Oh yeah, Trevor lasted a couple of seasons there. That was a good effort, but they kept revisiting him. Sure, him appearing in prison was somewhat surprising, but at the same time, once he gives the explanation, it made sense enough for this show's logic. So, yeah, I'm behind this couple. I really am. Because, when they have the bit where they each bring somebody to it wasn't the alibi, it was a different bar, but then one of them says something bad about the other, that they just both punch those guys out. And of course, it's not the true romantic moment that you envision a proposal to be, but they're like, hey, let's do it. It just totally worked with those guys. I believe it. And then just the end, they just say, how they're just that calm. They almost got killed, and the reaction is, that happened. That was great. I loved it. Frank, more and more, I kind of feel like the show is distancing himself from the family. Now, to be fair, even at the beginning, wasn't the majority of his story arcs away from the family? Yes, they were. Okay, so that's literally the purpose of his character, the dad who's barely ever there, but in big moments, he somehow shows up for good or bad, sometimes both. But I don't know, just, it's not that they're running out of things to do with him. No. You can do all kinds of stuff with Frank. But, I don't know, just, I guess what I'm feeling is that because of the time jumps that occurred in this season and last season, the writing for the show is getting not lazy, but less good, I guess. Now, to be fair, okay, you have time jumps in shows. Okay, you do. It's not like they just jump into something that happened a couple of weeks later every bleeding episode for that kind of a thing. No, what? Because you could have had weeks pass between various episodes of Buffy or Angel and you wouldn't have noticed. Parenthood had a couple of time jumps, even though I didn't really like that. I think the last couple seasons of The Office had a couple things similar to that if you really pry into it. I wouldn't be too surprised if Modern Family does tons of time jumps. I really need to get off my butt and watch that show. Just, I don't know, the feel that I'm getting for this show and how they're doing things is totally different. Now, do shows have to do that over time? Yes, they do. Okay, so in many ways, I'm just spewing random nonsense here. I freely admit it. But, I don't know, just something has changed, I think, with Frank a little bit. And it's not that he's getting things better. If anything, he's getting a little more sophisticated, where he's acknowledging the system, using it to benefit himself, and yet, I don't know. But that chick, Faye, showing up, it was more like, yeah, let's just throw in another random character, get Frank into trouble, and then just write the character off. I can't help but feel like that's what happened. And then the leg injury, he seemed to go from being in a heck of a lot of pain to just getting over it kind of easy. Although, don't get me wrong, what he did with that homeless guy, that was a nice way to repair it, but... And that was also a powerful moment where the homeless guy, Mikey, or Mikey, Mikey, he admits, I can't stay out here. I'm not going to make it. It takes a powerful thing to admit it, but it's super sad at the same time, just knowing that he can't make it in life, even though he did have things going well for a while, but then, of course, he and his family, they invested in a failing business model, and then they lost everything, which is the weakness of small business owners, blue-collar people. Yeah, it's a tough market, and it's only gotten worse since, even though this season wasn't made that long ago, Yeah. Okay, moving on from Frank, even though that didn't really accomplish that much, sorry. Kevin and Veronica, I've kind of already said all I need to about them. It's creative for the show, and it feels okay, but they're clearly running out of things to do with them. And now that Fiona's gone, unfortunately, they can't really help the Gallaghers out that much anymore with themes. They're just sidekicks, which is not a bad thing because is Kevin good for a laugh in this area? Absolutely he is. But, yeah. Okay. Carl. I kind of want to say that they're running out of things to do with him, but when I saw the payoff of that storyline, I'm like, no, there's potential here. Sure, he was kind of off his rocker at the beginning of the season with just jumping from military to cop thing. It's illogical and yet too easy of a step at the same time, but I don't know. It's not that he wants to do something with himself, but it's tough. And I also can't remember when they actually fully got rid of Kathy and or Katie. Just when did that happen? I forget exactly. Yeah. Because there was a little bit in there where I was just having trouble keeping track of everyone, so maybe that's when they got rid of her. I don't know. So there's still potential with the guy, but I don't know, just something in the back of my mind. I don't know what it is. But he's always been a reckless kid. I mean, like, he is the one that basically broke his arm in the first season. The one that brought in a whole bunch of dogs to let them die, and then somehow didn't end up in insane amounts of debt because of that. And then forms a relationship with a psycho girlfriend who they wrote off way too easily there, even though a deleted scene implies that one of the other guys just gave her either a huge concussion or accidentally killed her. I don't know. It's Carl, you know? Liam, I appreciate the show trying with him, because in this season, were they trying? Oh, yeah! And how he's actually helping out the other family members with just some basic life tips? Why not? It's a different angle to go with him. People are emotionally mature, a little bit different. Lee, showing that Liam is trying to step up and handle things, yeah, I appreciate it. He's still sidekick in my mind, but A for effort on him. Good job, writers. And then Debbie's bit, well, I was not expecting it to turn out the way that it did, because, yeah, last season they really made it seem like she didn't really know if she was gay or not, but now we can definitively say that she's gay or technically bisexual, but severely prefers girls. That is a thing. But, yeah, once that all got done, that was really impressive, because I thought for sure that what was going to happen with the Debbie and the mixture with Claudia, I think her name was, and Julia, was that even though the better thing for Debbie at the moment would have been to go with Claudia, just given that woman's behavior, she could just ditch Debbie at like any moment and find some new thing that she was interested in, even though at the same time, do I believe when she said that she liked Debbie? Yeah. But long-term wise, it would have definitely made more sense to go with Julia, because even though, of course, Julia revealed that she was faking it, was there something there? I think so, but maybe I'm just imagining things there. And then Debbie kind of rebounding over to Sandy there. Well, I did feel like the character came out of nowhere, but when they were having her do the bow tie bit, I saw the way that they were looking at each other, and I'm like, hey, wait a second, that's not just how two random people just look at each other. There. I'm like, are you trying to set something up here? And then when you get the fallout with Julia, and she goes over to Sandy, I buy it. So I'm real curious to see what they do with her next season. If they bring her back, I hope they do. Then Julia jumping over to Carl, well... it's just what the show does, you know? Right. Yeah, so Was the show able to handle itself without Fiona? Yeah, just like how The Office was able to handle itself after season 7. There and that one character departed. Yeah, the show's doing fine. I don't feel like there's that big of a hole left in the show, honestly, because the Gallaghers, they're grown up now, okay? Ian and Lip, they grew up pretty quickly in the show's history, and now Carl and Debbie are basically at the ages that they were in season 2, that kind of a thing, because Carl was asking, so when's your 18th birthday? You only ask that if you assume that the person that you're looking at is close to that age. Yeah, so they're basically the same age. Oh, and then the cliffhanger? Well, it makes sense, because Claudia does strike me as that kind of a person, and even though Julia was consenting, is it statutory rape? Well, yeah, because a minor can't consent, even though did Julia literally consent? Yes. That's just how it works. The same thing happened when my mom became a high school teacher, because she recounted the story to my brother and I, how one of her students ended up in a heck of a lot of trouble because he ended up having sex with his underage girlfriend, despite the fact that she was perfectly consented and he himself was 18. Not a good thing. Alright, now I've just got the Hall of Fame and season 11 left. Doing Hall of Fame first because that's technically when it was created, even though it aired while season 11 was happening.